Well, fresh reports suggest Oscar Pistorius may be growing impatient over his parole hearings. Last year, the convicted murderer was transferred to a Gqeberha prison to meet the parents of his victim, Reeva Steenkamp. This is called a victim-offender dialogue to ultimately see if Pistorius could get a taste of freedom again. He's serving 15 years behind bars for killing Steenkamp some 9 years ago. But now it seems Pistorius may be frustrated over the pace of the parole process. His attorney, JULIAN, joins us live now. JULIAN, thanks so much for joining us. As I understand it, Mr. Pistorius was transferred from his prison in Pretoria to Gqeberha to accommodate the Steenkamp parents who were infirm and not able to travel. That was last year. What's happened since then?
I think one has to go back to, first of all, establish when Oscar became eligible for parole. Offenders are considered for parole at one half of their sentence. Now, the 13 years and 5 month sentence that he received, the half of sentence has already expired. So we are in a situation where he is eligible for consideration for placement on parole. What happened last year was that the Department of Correctional Services made an arrangement for the Steenkamps to come to Pretoria. When they were then met with the predicament that they said that they didn't have the money to come to Pretoria, and then Oscar was sent to Port Elizabeth in November last year. But since November last year, nothing seems to have happened with the VOD process. So what we are questioning is why, if the Steenkamps are unwilling or not ready to participate in a process like this, then Oscar Pistorius doesn't want to force that on them. And the other thing to consider is that the victim-offender dialogue is not a prerequisite to placement on parole, and neither is the consent of the victims and the surviving family of the offence. So what one is looking at is a situation where we want to get the process going relating to his consideration for placement on parole.
JULIAN, are you getting any feedback from the Steenkamp's lawyer, Tanya Kun, or the Department of Correctional Services? I mean, it seems the situation, there has to be movement either way. Pistorius, whether you like him or not, he is eligible for a parole hearing, and there has to be, he can't sit in Gqeberha forever.
Well, my point of contact is the Department of Correctional Services. But unfortunately, the correspondence that we have sent to them for the last 2 or 3 months have been met with absolute silence. So one in that situation has no option other than to explore the possibility of asking the court for assistance.
Am I correct in saying that the prison that Mr. Pistorius was being held in Tshwane was far easier for him, or it was a better prison, it was a less sort of maximum security prison than the current one he's at, and he would rather be in the prison that he has spent most of his sentence in?
Well, I think the point is that when a prisoner is detained, they normally detain the prisoner close to the prisoner's support system. The support system is the offender's family and people that would visit them. So to move him to Port Elizabeth ordinarily would take him away from his support system. But for the purposes of a VOD, it was perfectly understandable. But now that we don't have any clarity as to when this victim-offender dialogue will be finalized, one can't keep him in a holding pattern indefinitely.
Julian, just last question. Your client, what is his state of mental and physical health, if you're allowed to answer? I mean, does he have his prosthetics? I know that there have always been issues with hygiene, with keeping those stumps clean. It's difficult for a paraplegic in prison.
It most certainly is difficult for a paraplegic in prison, and I think that the prison authorities have attempted to accommodate him with regard to his disability, and that is why he was being detained at the Attridgeville prison in Pretoria. I do not have any contact, I have very little contact with Oscar at the moment as a result of him being in Port Elizabeth. So for that, I can't answer your question with regard to his mental health and the general conditions there, because I haven't visited that prison.
All right. Thank you so much for your time there. That was Oscar Pistorius' attorney, Julian Knight. Thanks again for your time. Well,